babe. He had two characters, both of them were named Gary Busey. It was like Gary Busey 1,
Steve,
Gary
Steve, stop.
I cannot keep doing this.
Steve, I'm leaving you. It's over. Goodbye. Okay, so you're saying that you're divorcing me because I enjoy Man Alone videos?
No, Robert. I'm divorcing you because you're a horrible person. You're terrible. You're a bad human being. Who's Man Alone? Robert, you're awful. Babe, I have this idea. Kind of crazy, but what do you think about me and you getting married?
Yeah. I was thinking we can get a table at Antonio's and we can have them put Man Alone on
top of a computer
in the
while
background.
Man
We
Alone
don't.
is.
I mean, we don't have to do that part. I just thought it'd be fun if he was playing in the background.
To not babe, watch
his videos anymore.
It's a ticket to Solo Fest. What were you thinking it was gonna be? What the?
I don't know if you could hear this, but
It's a
I
Jorma
just
cut.
need some money.
It's a
I messed
Jorma
up.
cut. No, it's not a diamond. No,
I can't pay the membership
not a
this month for
sapphire.
Man
It's
Alone.
not.
Don't hang up.
It's not a price. It's
$3.99. Please, please just send me the money.
I wanted
I'll come
to
home,
propose to you
please.
today.
Hello.
However, my oracle said that I
That is
should
me, Jorma.
enjoy Man Alone responsibly.
Ain't that the truth? Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Man Alone Solo Role-Playing YouTube channel. I'm your host, Man Alone, and today we're talking Dolmenwood. And I just want to say about the intro, just to make sure everybody knows that's actually not a bit. I was my attempt to reach out, connect with the audience. YouTube, they have pretty sophisticated analytics. And so I was surprised to see this as well. I was looking at like the breakdown of people who watch my channel, and yeah, this right here is like by a pretty large percentage the viewers, and then so it's not all that. Number 2 is a big drop, but it's still a number 2. I guess that they, how like the YouTube just keeps auto playing, and I suppose if nobody, so that got me pretty low. Just seeing, nothing against these two groups. It's just, what does that say about me? But I was at a real low point, and then the third group comes along, and I'm like, okay, we're good. We're back on track, right? We're doing something right. So, I as far as everybody who's going through the big div, I kind of look at it like sports. I don't want to take a side in the divorce. I just hope everybody is, leaving it all in the courtroom, and I hope both teams are having fun. All right. So speaking of having fun, we have Dolmenwood. This is just the thing I wanted to see after a very successful weekend. So I finally finished Outer Darkness and put the final copy up on drive-thru. Very happy about that. I had a deal of the day for Vox Profunda, and now it is a platinum seller on drive-thru. I was very proud of that as well. And of course, new to the shop, we have some brand new apparel. This is my own design. So we have sweatshirts, t-shirts. I think that's a sticker. That's the back of it right there. And I'm very, very excited. Look at that off-center puzzle. So I designed all these for the puzzle. It was supposed to be like one letter per cube, but it got shifted. So in the middle, my name is a bit off-centered, but that's the fun of a puzzle, you know? Um, and I wanted to this is just one. There's a couple other designs on there. You should check it out. The link is below to Teespring. And I also want to say that that's just some. I wanted to stimulate some ideas. So if other people have ideas for apparel designs or stuff like that, please let me know. I'm open to just about it. Just about anything. Let's just take another look at that puzzle really quick. Look at the yeah, it took me a long time to line everything up. We're in trouble, folks. Especially those of us who are thinking about, oh, one day maybe I could make a tabletop role playing game. Yeah. Nah. This we're done. This one did it. Maybe you could take what you have and make it into a board game. You know, look at this. Tales from the Loop. I have my friends coming in town next week. Big board game head. Got the Free League Tales from the Loop board game. First person ever to buy it. And I was very excited inside, actually. It has minis. And it also, this is not what this video is about. I just want to show you these minis and these cards. Board games always look like they have so much fun stuff going on. So look at this is like the world map here. And this is, yes, you're not mistaken if you're thinking, isn't that a tabletop role-playing? Yes. So it is a TTRPG by Free League, but they also have a board game of it. There's like the town there. That's the board game playing board. And then we have each of these, look at those cute little minis. But the coolest thing is the kids' cards. I don't know why. I don't know if you could see this, but they're like indented so that you could change their skills and their stats and stuff like that. How awesome is that? It's too bad. I wish I liked board games a little bit more. I mean, I like them fine. I'm just not fanatical about them. Look at those minis. Really nice. So I'll let you know how that goes when we play. I mean, I should say, like, I do like board games. It's just that I don't get, like, thrilled about board games like I do with RPGs. And I think it has something to do... It probably has a whole lot to do with like infinite possibility in role playing games. I could do whatever I want. And with a board game, I guess I could do whatever I want as well. But then, as usual, I get called a problem and I've ruined the evening again. Let me pause this for a second. All right, in case you weren't aware, Dolmenwood actually came out in 2024, I think, but the books just got sent out. This is the player's book, Adventure in Peril in Fairytale Woods, and this is released by Exalted Funeral and made by Necrotic Gnome. This is book 1 of 3. If you are a player, this is all you need. If you're a player and you crush a lot, aka a referee, then you'll also need the campaign book and the monster book, which I should have bought, but I didn't, and I do have them on PDF. And I also am trying to be okay with just having certain things on PDF, and I actually have an idea about how we can all get a little better with this. If anyone's familiar with the Socrates Cafe, I want to do something like that, plus like a stand-up, not comedy, but the same model of like having an event where people can come up and talk about why they are hype about a game for 15 minutes, and then like talk a little bit of how to play, and it makes the game real to you. Then you're like, oh, okay, so that's what playing this game will be like. Because sometimes when we have a game pitched to us, And especially when you have it by a real hype like myself, you can feel like, oh my gosh, this game holds like so much power. And then you get it and you're like, oh, it's an inert book. I have to sort of breathe life into it, which is a beautiful thing. But I think too that I don't know why it feels like a responsibility of mine that's emerged to help you all become more discerning customers. Maybe it's because I feel guilty about being a hype guy, as I am for everything in my life. So it's not just for this. I just get excited about stuff, but just know that not everything I get excited about, you'll get excited about, except for Dolmenwood. This is the exception, because if you're not excited about Dolmenwood, there's something wrong. You need to get some support. No, that's okay. This might not be your thing, but even so, this is kind of like the Beatles. It's like, even if you don't like it, you could see, like, you could see skill here. And let me just say this: the referee screen for this game um, is better than some game publishing companies' whole catalog. Just the referee screen. So, like, the comprehensiveness of this. This is just a core rules page, some weapons, and then we have these encounters. This is when things heat up. Weather by season, unseasoned encounters, creature activities, seasons, months, days, travel days, camping, dungeon turns, encounters, encounter reactions, sleeping in the wilds, picture of moat. And this map, this hex map as well, beautiful thing. The player sheet is also really, really nice. Beautiful, beautiful sheet. And as we can see here, strength, intelligence, wisdom, dexterity, constitution, charisma, save targets for doom, ray, hold, blast, and spell. Those are the new Ghostbusters. And this is a hex crawl. Now, the person who made this is the person who Necrotic Gnome made Old School Essentials, among other things, and so it is going to be an OSE type game, but there are some pieces of it that are a little bit different. Dolmenwood's setting is actually there is influences listed early, and I think one that covers it well is if you've ever read Gormenghast by Mervyn Peake, but also like Over the Garden Wall, and I see a little bit of like Wind in the Willows, but also Wicker Man. It's a forest world, a liminal forest world where the mortal world brushes up against the fairy world. And the book frames the wood as very beautiful, very magical, but perilous. And that's part of why it's perilous. It's enchanting, alluring, but dangerous and costly, especially to those who linger there. And it is very, very well revealed to the players, not only through the writing, which is excellent, and especially because of how just vivid it is. It's so nice to look at just something this. It kind of is some of the reason why I like Dragonbane, because Dragonbane just goes for it with splashes of stuff, and you know, it was something that has a consistent art style, and you're able to see the how awesome it is to have a consistent art style. But there's also whatever this book does, which is showing that, like, if you rotate 2 or 3 art styles at just the right time, and they're not that different. Like, I think some of Chaosium's books, there's too much of a swing in like the art style. You'll do this beautiful stained glass hand drawn window, and then some like sort of, looks like toy soldiers or whatever that sort of early Pixar is. So a lot of it is this almost like watercolor, sepia pencil, and then some of this, which is really nice actually, because it changes it up a little bit and also gives more definition for it. And then you kind of almost have this stuff here that almost goes into troika territory with the art, but it doesn't quite go that loose. But this is like the art style of it, which is such a gorgeous combination of sort of um, Japanese precision and angularity with also the kind of pilgrimage look to it. Um, it's a really wonderful book to look at. The kin are interesting. Kindred. This is a Bregel, and actually grew up next to a couple that like was just like this in every way. Um, and so because this is an OSE OSR type book, you know, you're going to have right up front um, things about advancement, speed, um, class is right up front, and names, well, names I guess you get a lot of times, but also like relationships to the other ones. And this is what is really, really special is this because I love a true character craft. You know what I mean? Like, I think there is obviously I just made a game that kind of has a more abridged one that's just like the stats and maybe what's that person about. But if you're going to go in the other direction, go in the other direction and give me like the full video game sort of toggling a person's chin up and down for 20 minutes till I get it just right. And that is really what this one gives. Um, in so many different ways: background, trinkets, head, face, fur, speech, demeanor, dress, beliefs, desires. Then we have the elf, and the elves don't seem as annoying as they usually are, but they're still annoying. Grimalkin are cats. I actually this like a Cheshire cat might be the only cat archetype that I would play. Um, Humans that don't have a very strong connection to magic world, which is good with me. Um, Mosslings, beautiful ribbon here. Woof. Mosslings are moss people. I don't know what else. You know, I'm trying to represent the moss people as best I can, but there's only so much. And then the wood grew. I guarantee you, BB will find these cute, and they're horrifying. They are fairies with little bat faces. Where's the one in the back? BB, tell me you would not love that young man. Here, look. You able to see that? That's like you. That's like you. This is well, no, that didn't sound. That's not you. I mean, it is cute. All right. Sorry, distortion. I must carry on. There it is. It is kind of like you though, but like not. You don't look. Just the aura. So yeah, there are kindred, there are classes. We have some of the this one probably more germane in terms of bard, cleric, enchanter, fighter, friar, hunter, and there are some not I wouldn't say limitations, but just some like usually this group isn't a blank. Usually this group does not. And there are some that you know nothing is a hard stop, but some that are like these people would not be this kindred class or whatever kindreds would not be this because they don't follow this religion, so they wouldn't be friars of it usually. All the advancements written out, lower houses. I really like this. So I'm writing Inner Light right now, which is the sort of companion book to Outer Dark. And in Outer Darkness, there's this like high court, low court, triarch 3, and then the chorus is the lower court of 2. And for the next thing, I think I'm gonna do like I like noble houses. I think that always leads to like a really cool diversity of personalities and a good way to be like, what is it that makes these people these people? Thief. You know what this also looks like? You ever seen the video game Child of Light? Yeah. Just beautiful. I mean, unbelievable. Magic. Skip that. Spells. So yeah, this is the player's guide. Now, you might be looking at this and going, yeah, Malone looks good, man. That's good. I don't know if I'd go with the whole like game changer, throw away the rest of your books. Um just keep in mind that this is the player's guide. Adventuring gear, heroes and vehicles, horses and vehicles, lodgings and food, bevies. Oh, I love this pipe leaf. This is so cool. This is a whole thing in this is there are some effects to these, but a lot of them are just like cherry wood pipe, a fine pipe of carved cherry producing a smooth aromatic smoke. This is something that gives like a lot of verisimilitude. There should be things that have no purpose because that's real. And I like the pipe and the pipe leaf because that's something that, if it was like fine, like dinette sets or something that are going to cost tons of money, then it just wouldn't be worth it. But there's little credits for pipe leaf, especially maybe if you have some extra change. But some of them do like have effects that are positive, negative, and neutral / weird. And I do appreciate how this gets pretty weird, but never falls off the rails. I don't mean to keep comparing it to Troika. It's just front of mind right now because I just paged through that Find It at Sutcliffe's or whatever, their recent one, which is like you're playing a character at a department store, I think. And I'm like, yeah, I love that Troika exists. Who was it that said a last comment about Ekrim, which was like, I love that this game exists. I don't want to play it. All right, so we have time and movement, encumbrance, hazards, some more mosslings. I keep thinking every time I see this picture, I think this dude is holding his foot in his hand and cutting his toe tips off. Doesn't it look like that? Hello? Oh, YouTube just said nobody is watching the video anymore. Just kidding about the toes. And then really, really good procedures. I'm starting to love this right here. This section in a book, if it doesn't have well-developed travel and camping and dungeon crawling. And I have to be honest, especially early on in learning about TTRPGs, I found OSR games a bit intimidating. There was almost like a level of it that was inaccessible no matter how many times you read the instructions because it had premises that I just didn't understand and that were, they were so obvious to people who had been playing for 30 years that they were almost in it like unable to articulate them. And this right here is also, I think, a hallmark of the OSR, which is what we would say here is like there's going to be explicit rules, right? That are here to resolve actions. And so even something down to sleep difficulty. Do you have a fire? Do you have a bed? Winter, spring, summer, autumn. And then it has the different difficulties that you will factor into what's going to happen overnight. There are specific roles while traveling. Things are we have a hex map. I was gonna say I was trying to think of like a $1 million word here. I was about to say mitigated through a hex map. That doesn't make any sense. All right, and then settlements as well. What are you gonna do? Dungeons. What are you gonna do in this game? You're gonna explore. The houses and factions are going to be a source of like movement in terms of plot. You're going to recover saintly relics if you want to curry favor with the church. You might look for weird fungi and herbs if you are trying to sell them, or maybe doing that will upset the Mosskins, or I don't know. That you might be making maps, you might be steering clear of the Droon. There's this like really interesting king called the Nag Lord, which doesn't sound very evil, and it's more of like a trickster character, but it's actually a really cool opposing force, and something more like Alice in Wonderland in tone. Uh, Combat is a lot of things familiar, just the way that they're presented. Sometimes are interesting. That and maybe it's just because of my naivety in this sort of combat, but certain steps in which things are declared, and certain things are declared then cleared. Okay, like does anybody have a spell that they want to use right now? Does everyone have an item, etc.? And I think that's good. The Dolmenwood calendar is available free on drive-through. Here's the noble houses. Gives us alignments. That's something notable as well, is that the alignments in this game are just chaotic, neutral, and it's not going to have like sort of the 9 slots. It's going to have chaotic, neutral, and lawful, and it will even say like usually chaotic is evil. I think that's fine. I think that the thing about having the different quadrants is that does a pretty amazing job of covering the types of people there are. And so you could not name those other parts, but they're still going to be there. Because if you say, oh, well, every chaotic character is evil, well, you're cutting off like a lot of character types. And I don't think that's the intention here. But there, it just struck me as I was reading through it. I think maybe it was in the referee's guide that it's sort of listed out. Now, this is interesting too. I need to understand this, and if anybody does understand this a little bit better, if you could let me know. There's like this in the appendices is this kindred class, and it's like, okay, so what is the difference between playing a Bregel? Is this like the class and kindred combined? I think this is something that I'm just not familiar with, and so I'm like, well, what's the difference? Is it just saying rather than taking a separate class, like the class is Bregel? Cool. Okay, so I have to switch over to PDF. Hey, I'm going to intrude on my own video here to say that in just a second, I sort of dismiss players that are going to be playing in a group because I'm going into the GM guide, and the GM guide is fairly specific, and so I don't want there to be any spoilers. But before I do that, I wanted to give an overview of the core ideas of how to play the game. And so this is a bit of a detour, but I think it's worth it because even though it is OSR, OSE, it has certain, as all games do, particularities, and so I just wanted to review those really quick, and so that you have a good idea of how to play. So let's do it. All right, so we'll skip over this part. We'll assume that you know about role-playing games and dice notations and stuff like that. Dolmenwood, it's a fantasy RPG. You play adventures. It's a big enchanted forest full of fairies, cults, ruins, beasts, and the rules are oriented towards that, towards exploration, discovery, and occasionally getting in some trouble. All right. And you choose the kindred, which is like species. It used to be called race. And options for this game: humans, mosslings, which are mushroom people that cut their toes off, Bregels, Grimalkin, which are cat people, Bregels, goat, they're beast men, wood grews, which are bats, but it's supposed to be fairies. But I mean, it's like, come on, dude, you're bad. And so each of those is going to have positives, drawbacks. And then you could also choose a class: fighter, thief, cleric, magician, bard, hunter, knight, friar, enchanter. These are going to define your hit points, your combat ability, whether you use magic or other special powers. And then we have the ability scores. These go from they're going to create modifiers that go from -3 to +3 that affect your rolls and HP, which is based on your class, or I guess if you do kindred class, they're based on that. So one of the things that's a little bit different is that there is ability checks and skill checks, and this is not going to blow your mind. You probably already know this. It's just talked about differently because usually now those get elided into one. But essentially, ability checks are checks that are very general. They just involve your stat in whatever broad category. Okay, so when I talked about your ability scores, these are going to be tests that just straight up and down test those things: strength, intelligence, wisdom, dexterity, etc. And for these, you roll 1d6 plus whatever that modifier is. And if the total is 4 or higher, you succeed. Remember, I said that those go regardless of the score. The scores are just going to create cutoffs for a derived modifier. All right. So it'll be like, at this score to this score, your modifier for strength is +2. And then if you get over that point, your modifier is +3. And then you'll roll 1d6 and you'll add that modifier plus or minus. And if it's over 4, you succeed. And so an example would be like a door is stuck. You need to open it, strength. Your strength score, I don't know, is +2. And so that's your modifier based on your score. So you roll a 1d6. All right. Did I open this door? +2, +6. Yeah, I rolled it. It was an 8. So that definitely is over 4. Now, skill checks, these are specific skills that everyone can attempt, like listen, survival, search, and you need to meet or beat your skill targets. Listen, survival, search, and these are for these you'll roll 1d6, and you'll succeed if you meet or beat not a 4 but your skill target, which usually at lower levels is 5 or 6. And some of the classes, and I think kindreds, get better at this. But that's the skill target. And these are just ways to sort of, I don't know, make it so that you don't succeed at everything. And then we have saving throws. If you're not used to these, you have your saving targets. Now, the difference, really broadly speaking, for like skill checks and saving throws is a skill check is to see if you could do something, and a saving throw is to see if you could avoid something. Different games have different ways of talking about the things you need to be saved from. This has 5 of them, I think. 5 in magic resistance. So, no, that's spell. So 5. Doom, ray, hold, blast, and spell. And so you need to roll equal or higher to these. And so each of them is going to be a different thing. If you have a DM, they'll be able to explain that. But like, I guess Doom, this is a catastrophic, usually like instant death annihilation effect. This would be like the cave collapses. A death knight with like a red beam that comes out of their head is just about to blast you. Are you able to get out of the way? And this is the last chance roll for you, and like you're gone. It's a sheer devastation. And then Ray is if you meet any guys named Ray. I just can't get that out of my head. All right, it's a precise, direct magic or supernatural attack. I think the thing to think of with Ray in a sci-fi game is a laser, and in a fantasy game, it's like a lightning bolt. All right, I guess it can also be like a dragon breath, sort of Cyclops type beam. Cyclops X-Men, I'm talking, and so that's you're dodging, twisting out of the way. And then hold is anything that immobilizes you. So there's like some old school spells of hold person, being frozen, ensnared by roots, petrified, bind, paralyzed, shock. And then blast is that's what it sounds like fireballs, concussive waves. That could also be something collapsing. Usually it wouldn't be the whole place, but say you're like going under a pass and there's, that little wooden gate that's holding up things is you need to get out of the way. And then dragon breath, like cone attacks. Anything that's like in sci-fi, this would be flamethrower. And then spell is any other magic attack that doesn't fit the above. So especially if it's not directly offensive, like charms, illusions, mind altering, glamours, runes, curses. And think of that as like your willpower, your presence of mind in resisting magic influence, corruption, manipulation, stuff like that. Okay. Um, so we have ability checks, skill checks, saving throws, and then attack rolls. For this one, you're going to roll a d20 plus your attack bonus. All right. And, um, obviously for your melee, it's going to be strength. And then your ranged or missile attacks, it's going to be dexterity. Okay. If the result equals or beats the enemy's armor class, you hit, then roll damage. And in fact, I'm now going to do an extended. I'll do that in 1 second. I'm going to do an extended explanation on armor class. Let's see. Travel, time, exploration. If you're not tracking time, right? Exploration is 10-minute turns. You can move, search, act in each turn. And in combat, things are broken into rounds. Encumbrance are items tracked by weight. In this, it's coins, right? Let me look that up, actually, make sure that I'm not making that up. Okay, I was right for once. I remember that it was tracked in coins. I remember reading that and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then as I was saying it, I was like, wait a minute. That sounds like a common mistake I would make where it's like, here's an example using coins. And my brain was like, yes, everything is measured in coins. But this actually is pretty much how this goes. And I don't know if this is an old like standard, but I thought this was cool. The total weight of your character's gear is tracked, as coins are the most common form of treasure found by adventurers. All weights are measured in coins. 10 coins equal 1 pound, and you have a maximum load of 1,600 coins of weight. Okay. And then we have how the speed is considered or changed by the up to 400 coins, speed 40, 600 coins, 30, etc. And then this is weight of common treasures. And then item gear slots, slot encumbrance. The encumbrance system is based on gear slots, giving a simple and abstract overview of each character's load. Each item carried occupies 0 to 3 gear slots. Items in gear slots. Okay. And then wandering monsters, staying too long in one place or traveling loudly invites more random encounters. As far as combat goes, each side is going to roll d6 at the start of a round, and the winner's side goes first. Action-wise, per round, each character can move and take one action. That's pretty usual. Attack, cast a spell, use an item. And then There's no death saves, no buffer. Combat's pretty tense, and so it's a game where caution is the better. What is the phrase? Better to choose caution over valor. And then the magic system, it is different classes get different spells, and then it's the sort of spell preparation. Spells are prepared and then cast. There are fae specific powers, runes, glamours, and magic is very powerful, but is limited because it has to be prepared. And then as far as advancement, XP is coming mostly from treasure and exploration, not just fighting. So the game really rewards like being clever, avoiding hopeless battles, making daring choices. It's hex based. I like that. We'll talk about that in the section for the GMs. And speaking of that, I'm going to talk about. I'm going to break down a stat block, and then we're going to switch to like GM mode, and I'll give like a little warning before that. All right, let's take a look at Cold Prince. So this is definitely not a fair fight. This is an apex level enemy here, and just perhaps most of you are very familiar with this, and so I'm mostly talking to myself. But I wasn't aware of this stuff, and it was really hard for me to get this, and so I just broke down like this stat line here to each of its component parts. Okay, so the Cold Prince is like, this would be a big fight. This would be something where the characters are quite anxious about this. They're building up to it, and so this would probably not be a good one to teach a new player on who's never played before. But at the same time, I think it also provides a lot of like different options here, so we could talk about each of them. I think it's good to talk about it to a new player to explain things, but I think it would not be a good one to like be like, let's do a sample combat here, and it's like, okay, you're dead. All right, so medium, fairy, genius, chaotic. Medium is human sized. Fairy, creature type, genius, top tier intelligence. Chaotic is and this is important. It's alignment, right? And that's important for characterization, which certainly top tier enemies like this, we want to have spend time characterizing them. They'll have a hard time just like getting in a fight without pacing and saying things and being arrogant or whatever it is. But also there are certain spells and effects that only have an effect on certain alignments. They're not that common, but they're common enough that it does have mechanical bearings. So you want to keep that in mind. And you're going to see this like on every stat line for this is this size, type, intelligence, and then the alignment. So level 18, AC 19, HP 100. All right. So level 18, this is, the benchmark of they're on level 18. This is also going to be a consideration in not only how powerful they are, but what sort of rewards will combat with them yield. AC, their armor class. If you're not familiar with this system, it's easy to get in your head about it. It's good to just keep it as simple as possible. And I want you to have somebody explain it to you who just learned it. That's the best way to have it explained to you, because I had it explained to me by grognards, and it was very difficult because, again, there's tons of premises that go in first that I just couldn't sift through it. So this is like a novice to expert problem. Like, you want to talk to somebody who's intermediate So I will do my best intermediate explanation of it. All right. So, and also, I shouldn't stereotype because also the old timers are the ones that will stay up till 4 a.m. going over different stuff with me too. So, it your mileage may vary no matter what, but just let me say this: just make sure that you are taught, if you have somebody teach it to you, somebody who is patient and understands that just because they understand something and are saying it does not mean that you will understand it using the same words that helps them to understand it. So, um, armor class is your armor class is the number an attacker has to meet or beat on a d20 attack roll to hit you. All right. So they're going to roll their attack roll, and the things that are added to it are going to vary based on the distance, based on what type of attack it is, etc. Um, in play, the attacker is going to roll this 1d20, add their modifiers, and if the total equals or exceeds the defender's armor class, the attack hits and you roll damage. So it's almost like this threshold that if you it's a fence that if you are able to climb up and or over it, you get to then roll again to do damage. And when you roll a natural 1, it always misses. A natural 20 always hits. All right. Armor class represents or measures how hard you are to land a blow on. Okay, that I think is something that I got really stuck on, is because when I think of it, I think, okay, this is how durable your armor is, or if without armor your AC is 10. Okay, that's how hard it is. Like what, your skin? It makes more sense when you say this is how hard it is to land a telling blow on you. A blend of, and it's an abstract blend of armor, of deflection, of nimbleness, stance, and luck. It's not just damage reduction. If a hit gets through, you take the full rolled damage. The armor class has already done its job by making that hit less likely. Okay, the damage is resolved only after a hit. All right, so people will say, well, wait a minute, okay, you outsmarted my defenses, you got through that, but I've got armor on, you shouldn't be able to hit me for that much. That was already in there. Okay, your armor class is determined by the armor you wear and your dexterity. All right, those two set your armor class. By default, an unarmored character with an average dexterity has armor class 10. Wearing armor, carrying a shield, raise this number. A good dexterity modifier raises it further, okay, because you're able to withstand blows and you're able to move out of the way. In practical terms, think of it like this: armor class equals 10. Base, that's your base if you're unarmored, plus your armor / shield bonus, plus your dexterity modifier, plus any situational modifiers, right? Like anything in the scene, in the environment, in the ether, in the glimmer of light, the conditions, the mood, the experiences coming into the fight. Those are things that admittedly are a little bit tougher in solo play to determine all the time. That was a big focus with Outer Darkness, was like, how do I create a way to do this? And I decided to do it with tags. Again, that's one way to try to crack that nut. But for here, mostly if you get a sense as a solo player that there's something going for you or going against you that's not captured in your armor, your shield, your movement, go ahead and modify that. Make it fair. Okay. So, and just to truly hammer it in here, let's do a step by step. Attacker is going to declare an attack, either melee or ranged or missile, right? Missile attack, distance, ranged attack. Roll 1d20 plus the attack bonus, add strength mod for your melee or dex for the ranged or missile attack if applicable. Okay. It depends what you're doing. And then compare that result to the armor class. If the total is greater than or equal, it hits, then roll damage. On a natural 1, it fails. On a natural 20, it succeeds, regardless. All right. So try this. Moderate. Let's not do this one. Let's do someone with a armor class 13, and the attacker has a +2 to hit. All right. They roll a d20. They're gonna need. If we think about this, if they have a +2 that's getting added, and the armor class is 13, they're gonna need 11 or more. All right. And so that's a roll of 11 plus on a d20, that's a 50% odds. All right. Whereas if you have somebody with a target armor class 17, same attacker, +2, you now need. What do you need to roll? 15 or more. That's a 30% odd that you're going to hit. All right. And this is really the core intuition you want to have, is that higher AC is harder to land a hit. Okay. What could change armor class? Those situational rules will sometimes penalize it or boost it for a round or a combat. A common one is charging in this game would be charging into melee. That's going to give the attacker +2 to hit for that round, but it penalizes their armor class by -1. And if you think about it, that makes sense because they're more exposed because they rushed in screaming Mel Gibson Braveheart style. And again, that shows it's not just about armor. It's position, it's momentum, it's vulnerability, etc. All right, I just want to say at this point, I'm going to maybe talk a little bit about solo play, possibly. But for those who are not familiar with how those conversations go, as a solo player, we are the player and the GM. And so because of that, we dip into the GM materials. So that is to say, I'm going to be taking a look at some stuff from the GM side of things. If you're going to be a player, do not watch this. And this isn't just like normal, where you'd say, yeah, you don't want to, see what's behind the screen. You want this, the way that Dolmenwood GM resources or campaign book is organized, it is very modular. Like the hexes have these different traps, different dilemmas, different combats, and so it will directly spoil. There's a lot of them. You probably won't remember. That's one of the really great things about it. But truly, if you're gonna play, do yourself a favor and don't watch this part. Okay, you've been warned. So of note here is there is truly an art to presenting lore and background, because especially to the GM, and I know that it's like it is assumed that, oh well, you're a GM, like read the whole textbook. Not only do I think that GMs don't want to read a whole textbook, they also, I think when there's too big of an ask, for instance, I think that the core rulebook, even though the game was outstanding, the core rulebook for the first Coriolis was too much information. It was just too much. That should have been broken into different things. And so when you look at this and say, wow, this is 473 pages, you're like, how in the hell am I supposed to do this? Well, I think the way that the information is introduced, first of all, is really great. And there is a very definitive plan that's like laid out in doing a campaign. And it starts pretty small here. If you look, it's like, okay, you're starting play, read this book, then do these, the secrets of Dolmenwood, factions and powers. And then you're going to choose what season you start in, settlement, and then start. This is, the joys of the hex is start peppering some adventures in the hexes around that. Then we have the factions. Okay, what are each of the factions doing? These are kind of like the the tension points that are going to be pulling the world in different directions, drawing and quartering the plot. And then, of course, all of the regions. And we see here that these are in set places, okay? And so when we talk about Hex 1106, that's a place. So we could probably, and I'm sorry I can't zoom my camera in. I've been having so much trouble with my OBS, if anyone's familiar with that, and I've had to delete years of different setups that I have in here. So right now I have like camera on or off and brief intro video. Yeah, so like Hex 1106 is here, and this would be the player's map. There is a map for the GM. I thought I printed that out, but maybe not. And so yeah, I like that. I prefer that. I like what am I doing? I like the idea of these set places that have there's an architecture to them. There's you know what's going to happen there, and sometimes I feel, especially with quite large, wide in scope games like this, there can start to be too much generative stuff, and it's like sometimes, again, it's a sweet spot, right? Because you want there to be stuff that you can easily draw on, that you could easily reference, talk about, but then you also don't want so much stuff that the GM and by extension the players feel boxed in and constricted. So these are going to be the different towns or settlements. Yeah, so this is expert RPG writing. When I first started making games and stuff like that, and I think if you really were pressed some people to be honest about this, I think you'd hear some similar things. There's a hubris when you have an associated skill that is developed and you go, oh, well, look at this. Like, I can write this kind of stuff. Hell, I can write way more complicated stuff than this. And so you write. And you very quickly realize this is not the same kind of writing. It reminds me of that story when one of the funniest things from top to bottom, other than when the guy like hurt his neck, was when U2 tried to make that awful Spider-Man musical in New York, Turn Off the Dark? And they were like, oh man, well, we can write a musical, like we'll make a killing. And then it was like, yeah, you guys like can write New Year's Day, but it's harder to write, like a dirge where someone professes their love while standing on 14 feet tall stilts and a 20-foot long cloak. And it's like, this is something that I think was very good to be humbled by that, because good RPG writing is evocative, but it's also concise, and it gives you just enough to lead you forward without drowning you. And this book is truly special in the way that it does that, because even here it dips in and out. All of this history of the place, very, very digestible for, we're talking about like 2,000 years. And it also gives you this feeling of like, you can go ahead if you want, like, come back if you get interested and want to come back to it. Or maybe if you're going to be here on a session, you can do this in advance. I think, again, that quest setup is always the best setup for a long, complex, interesting level of complexity for a campaign without overdoing it. It's good to have secrets in a campaign. It's good to have quests. It's good to have objectives. I think some games, though, they want the GM to create a scandal or like a web of lies, or that's just really hard to do. It's hard to do when you're playing against an audience sitting in a theater passively watching, It's hard to create a movie that genuinely surprises people then. And so to do it in a setting where the audience is like reacting to you in real time, you don't just get to say something like in a Christopher Nolan movie and move along. They would be like, hold on, wait. So who puts the tattoos on your body? And you're like, no, they're just mementos. I don't. It's like, yeah. But where are they? Show me an example of one. You're like, damn it, just shut up. I'm trying to tell you memento. And that's really tough. That's really tough to do. It's a big ask. And so I do like that there is secrets in this. There's things that could be uncovered, but at the same and there can be, I'm sure there can be things like that, but it just, I don't know, it feels so much more approachable. All right. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit because I want to just show a few things, and then we'll talk about the system, and then I'll talk about my thoughts on solo. Okay, so as far as how this GM guide is laid out, it was very surprising to me in a good way. Because obviously, when something is as stylized as this game, there's the concern that, there's underneath all of that, there is not nothing there. I wouldn't suppose that would be the fear, but that what is going to be there is a sort of standard fare. And in a lot of ways, this probably is quite standard in terms of the OSR. There's not a lot of big surprises, extremely audacious changes to the formula, etc. And that's probably for most people a good thing, right? Like that's not something that is sought after in that experience. In fact, I would say that despite not being complete anathema to that scene, if such a thing exists, I would say that most people want to harken back to a time in which the basic premises of role playing were held fast. And so, in that respect, I think a lot of times the strength of a game like this is based around its optimization, how well it does what it says it's going to do, and how well it balances that with things like presentation and appeal. And so, this is a game that does not leave me feeling like, what's the big deal here, right? Like, I think sometimes sensation games like that can, because they become sensations because they make such a strong step in a certain direction, that it could leave some people being like, what am I missing here? What is, this is not the case with Dolmenwood, Necrotic Gnome. It's like this is what Necrotic Gnome does, right? And so what is really awesome for me to see here, and again, not sure if I should have expected this or not, is as we start getting into the nuts and bolts of the GM guide, this starts to look familiar in that it starts to look like the Pendragon GPC, the Great Pendragon campaign. Not necessarily in gameplay, but as we start to get a stronger um, view of what is going on in this land, we start to see the different powers, and we start to see the different stakes and what people are interested in, and what they're the sources of conflict, cold wars, hot wars. And then we move forward into this place of the hexes functioning in very similar ways to the progression of years in the Great Pendragon campaign. And this is just like to the right here. This is just really what makes this such a special game, is just, on any given page, you're going to get these exhaustive lists of granular details with stuff like this. But yeah, we have sort of these dramatis personae, which is a nice thing, especially when we're solo playing, especially I think in lands of generative stuff where nothing is set. There are only procedures to create things. It's it's nice to like be in a place where it's like, yes, this place is running. It's in motion when I get here, right? And obviously there are different times and places for everything and every kind of gameplay, but this one is really nice. And so we have the witches faction here, um, and these pictures too sort of go. Again, this is a different type of art, but it seems to fit really well. It almost looks like Vazen. But again, this right here is just like the mic dropper. So okay, so we have faction relationships, et cetera, et cetera. Let me move forward to the hexes. And as usual, when I say let me move forward to XYZ place, I really have to stop everywhere along the way. But yeah, so this is running a campaign, and this is excellent guidance, especially if you have not run a campaign before. What I really like about this is it really goes into the nuts and bolts of running a campaign. Does it get down to like, some books start saying, well, here's how to encourage your players to show up on time. Yeah, thank you, but what I really need here is like how to create this adventure, how to run the game. And yes, I think that having these values of neutrality, player agency, rules arbiter as part of the contract, I think is a good thing, as well as advancement, pacing. And then these are the different types of adventures. And again, I think sometimes there's an assumption of like, oh, well, here are the pieces. Obviously, you know how to put them together. But sometimes people don't. And it's like, what can I do? And presented with a blank canvas, and such a big blank canvas, it could be very intimidating. So this is good. Just look at this page. What do you want to do here? What do your characters want to do? They tell you what they want to do. You look at this page, you go, all right. So they're kind of interested in having a big bad, or all right, they want to maybe get into the faction tension. Maybe they want to infiltrate one. Maybe they want to do some recon, whatever it is. This is fantastic. So I really appreciate that. And of course, you have lots of hooks and rumors. Then designing a dungeon. And by the time I was done with this chapter, I was like, wowie zowie, what an amazing GM guide. And I didn't realize, look at this. So as a solo player right here, you should already be like, yeah, this is right. This is what I'm looking for right here. Absolutely. This is almost every tool we need. Um, and who are we going to encounter? Well, let's see. Here's how you roll an encounter. I really like this part right here, by the way, where it's like animals, dumb, adventurers, dumb, activities, optional. We will definitely be using that in solo play. What are they doing when you get there, right? This is something that is going to give you more paint to paint with, and that's really what you want. But look at this. Broken up by levels, all of these different encounters, and just describing the environment, the different plants, fungi, slimes, right? How cool is this? And then a whole thing on traps, what triggers them, mechanism, trap effects, all of them numbered out so that they're rollable, usually on a D20 or a D percentile. Secret doors. Now, this is the first thing I'll say, I guess, specifically about solo play is, yes, you can probably predict here that if we're going to have hex crawl, dungeon crawl type setup, we're going to have to switch, into the certain type of solo play that comes with mega dungeon or dungeon crawl, where we're gonna have to have a different kind of fun. We're not necessarily gonna have the fun of figuring out if there's a trap. We're gonna know there's a trap, and we're gonna find out if our characters know, if they are aware of it. We're rolling to see if they notice it. And and I think that Pendragon is really good for just changing your mind scope in that respect to say these characters, they have certain traits, they have certain capabilities. Um, what are they going to do? What are they most likely to do? And yes, that doesn't mean they can never work against their type, but by assigning values to those things, we are now able to apply dice rolls and to randomize that. So to say, it's, if someone's a scaredy cat, uh, they're not always going to be a scaredy cat, but maybe they're only not going to be a scaredy cat if they have a really exceptional roll of 18, 19, or 20, for example. Um, so clues, and then this is great, tricks and weirdness, and of course this is very good as well. We're gonna have to figure this out for solo play as well. I'll say that when there is this much this much resource available to us, it really does come down to balance. That's the big question, and that's the one that I think, unless you are gifted with probability and statistics, a lot of it is going to be trial and error, right? Like, okay, you should always start with whatever the book gives a single player character. Then go out on an adventure, and if you get walloped in 12 seconds, then you're like, okay, that's not going to do it. I can see that my character alone is too weak to survive in this world. So let me adjust and think about your toggle switches, right? I would say don't jump right away to like, all right, I'm going to make a whole party because, yeah, I mean, this is advice for myself. You may be different, but for me, unless the game has specific solo instructions on like managing a whole party, I always feel overwhelmed, and I start having that thing where I'm like, I really would like to solo play that game, but I'm noticing that I'm delaying that. And the reason I'm delaying it usually is because I'm fearing the level of complexity. Like, okay, I want to play, but I know as soon as I start playing, I'm going to have to start managing a bunch of things. And by the time I know what my fourth character does, I forget what my first character does, etc. So if that sounds like you, consider adding a companion or upping your stats. I think that if you're able to abstract from everybody's stats, like what an appropriate stat line for your lone adventurer is going to be, all the better. But sometimes that's not possible, and it also doesn't work like seamlessly. So if it's like 4 characters with 4 strength each, that doesn't mean that you should have 16 strength. Games just don't, unfortunately, they just don't scale that way. Okay, so now it is my intention to go ahead to the hex things. So if I get snagged along the way, that is not my intention. All right, we didn't make it all the way to the hexes, but we did get to exploring. And this is the chapter here where, again, if you're somebody who's looking to solo this game, you read this and a Cheshire smile forms on your face, and you turn towards the camera of your life and you say, friends, I think we're going to be okay. Because the amount of tools here, seasons, unseasons, weather, okay, getting better. Wow, look at these options. And then we get getting lost, which would be good, right? And then look at this, encounters. Who can say? Oh no, I can't sing on video. They say I'm too good at singing, and so I get these copyright strikes. Look at this, regional encounter. Oh yeah, fishing, foraging, funting. Look at this. Oh man, I don't even care about this, but just seeing a table with 100, nope, 240 animals. Well, I guess there's a couple that are repeated, but 240 animal entries. Ooh la la. Part 5 is settlements, and I'll just show you one of these, how it breaks down what's happening here. Tons of NPCs, equipment availability, a map of it. Love these maps. And then different locations within the town. And this is just one settlement and has 15 of these, as well as maybe some combat encounters, etc. These like encounters day and night is so cool because yes, there are only 6 options here, but trust me when I say that like this 6 options in a single city is going it could last you an entire campaign. Um just because you're going to be exploring, you're going to be talking to people, you're going to be passing through, going on missions, buying stuff, and it just is unbelievable. Each of them you can see right here, 1104. That's where it is. That's the hex spot right there. And so, just so you know, here, let's see. I'm on the, uh, I don't know. Maybe this is the 7th settlement. I'm on page 172 of 473. Each of these towns has all these encounters, all these locations, all of these events that unfold when you get here. I mean, it's just awesome. All right, now hex descriptions. So this this is where the top of your head just sort of blows open. So we're dealing, one hex here, one hex, and we have what looks like instructions at first of like, oh, how do I fill in each of these hexes? Notice in the top right and top left of this one, every single one of these hexes are going to have all of this information. And right up top, how often are you going to get lost? How often are you going to have encounters? And this will be something right here hidden that again will have to turn that into a check. You'll have to have some sort of perception check, or there'll have to be some sort of requirement that it's not that complex to figure that out. You just want something to help you determine whether or not you see the hidden thing. And so you don't want to make it too automatic and you don't want to make it too arbitrary, but you don't want to make it too certain either. And so sometimes you're just going to be like, yes, I know I'm going to see that based on my previous experiences. Maybe I got information about it. And so I know exactly where it is. But it just like when there's this much stuff, it just is not as important. So this is page 193. Let's just sort of float forward. All along, there's going to be like top tier art. Look at through all of this. And the map is like, you'll think the map is the size of a ping pong table. What a weird comparison. But it's, it's just a hex map. The trick will really be to, say we're on hex 201, and to our left we have what? 101, to the right we have 301. The trick is to not look at 101 or 301 before you decide what direction to go in, so that even though you're going to be getting more information than normal as a solo player, you still are working on a limited economy of information, and you're taking some chances. Okay, that's beautiful. Look at that beautiful person, just beautiful. All right, we're on page 207, still rolling along. Tons of them have different encounters, etc. Now, I will say one thing that will be a bit of a frustration point. Mm, yeah, that's okay. It'll be a bit of a frustration point is that normally with a GM, especially one that is um, has a certain type of mission going, there's going to be a knowledge of what is in that next hex. And so we're going to have to, as solo playing, we're going to have to be a little bit more open to having what we thought we were going to do change to what we are doing, because we're not going to be able to predict that. I mean, we could if we want to play it out like a game book and just read everything in advance. But I think that the meta plots of the game, if those can be said to exist, we're going to have a looser conception of those, because it's just not possible to randomly travel while maintaining a coherent plot. You know, if you're looking for XYZ person and you go into hex 203, the chance that that person's going to be there, unless you have prior information about that, is pretty low. So you might have to, if you find that person there, you might retroactively terraform the history of what got you there, and to say, oh, that conversation I had with that person, they must have told me that there was something going on here. But again, it's something that seems like a problem, but as long as you are okay with um, having like a little bit of uncertainty, as well as like a little bit of flexibility in terms of the sequencing of things and when things are revealed, you still have a great time. Page 227. Sometimes we have a pretty good idea here that maybe we shouldn't. All we got to do is read the top left for a level 1, and we're like, oh, I've just entered the domain of the destroyer. I'm going to turn around. I'll probably come back to this another time. But there's also certain hexes that have like I can't find it right now, but it was, you knew that it was somewhere where there was an adrune. And so if that's not what you're looking for or something like that, there'll be an opportunity to switch that. Now, you could just say, actually, I'm in this hex or whatever. I think it's good to keep the consistent layout of this map. I think that if we try to start like switching those things around, it'll be quite confusing. But again, your mileage may vary. Now, my general impression is, with some exception, that as we go up in hex numbers, the more serious the situations become. I might be wrong. I haven't read all of them, but it seems that way. And so, in that way, I think it's cool that there'll be some degree of um, escalation that will be kept intact. As well as you can see, the maps here, it's going in a geographic order. Haven't even hit the 300s yet. All right, I'll stop torturing everyone here and I'll just see how far this goes. So, you know, we're bros, me and you. And so, as your bro, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to tell you that this goes up to page 389 are going to be full hex descriptions. That is such a massive amount of encounters, secrets, treasures, combat. It's enough to make a man weep. Especially me. I'm weeping right now. So then we carry on. We have treasures and oddments, and this is just icing on the cake. Gems, art objects, magic items, talismans, magic armor, magic balms, magic crystals. How about some magic garments, magic instruments, magic rings, magic weapons, potions, staves, wands, on and on and on it goes. It's a dream. It's a dream. And then finally, these appendices are great as well. It's giving layouts of stuff, like some sample dungeons, rumors in each town that you're, each settlement, each area. Oh, look at this. It's just lists of spells, a gingerbread charm personality. Some have said that I have one of those. Big ups to this team. Wow. Greg Gorgon milk. It's like you were made to do this. Wow. Amazing. Well, a pronunciation guide. And then there's that. Now, what if I told you that that there was a monster book as well that we're not going to go through, but there is also a full bestiary. And so, yeah, um, I think it can be soloed. I'm motivated to solo it. I'm going to try it. But I have been thinking a lot of just about solo play, how to do it, how to do it on camera, how to make videos of it, and I think that I want to figure out a little bit better what a good way to go about this would be. But I'm more interested in if any of you have soloed it so far and what your impressions are. If you think if you think that I'm correct in my theory here that there's excellent solo material. Right now, there's not a lot of solo playthroughs of it. In fact, I think I just found one that was the setup. I hope they keep going. But I would love to see some of you as well if you're interested, putting it on video, writing it up, podcasting it. I would love to see that. And yeah, your thoughts are fantastic. Thank you to everybody. Thank you to everyone who subscribes, and I just want to thank the those who have memberships to the channel. That means a lot to me. If you would like to join, if you'd like to join us with a best friend level membership, you can get the cool waffle, some awesome emojis and stuff like that in YouTube, and you get those comments will show up first for my notifications and stuff like that. And if you're interested, for only $3.99 a month, you can get SEAL Team Waffle Alpha status and join our Discord. So thank you everyone for coming. And again, I'm still rebuilding my OBS, so this is probably just the video is just going to stop. But I'll stop you on a song.